Shadim Shuri, Green Paradise. Well, for some stock that was yesterday, that was a wild market overreaction yesterday. Absolutely lunacy, and there was a lot of irrational behaviors. Um, it's been a while since I saw that kind of irrational behaviors in the market. So let's take a look at some of the stock. But first one is rational. You know, this channel focus a lot on TA with all the charting, right? But once in a while, I do get the fundamental right, at least the thesis, the story right. I have been a big fan of ELF. Of course, I was wrong after this nasty, almost 100% retracement, right? Of course, I didn't buy a pair. I buy it here in this support zone, and I was wrong. I add more share down here. I do a bull call spread. I sell put spread for a while. Still red in my position, still down, but earning came out, 40% growth year over year. Decent company. Hey, I've been saying it since I talked about the stock going back in July. If you are looking for some exposure in women centric sector, this is it. This is probably the best of the bunch over Lulu as far as fundamental. The keyword here is fundamental. When it comes down to fundamental, I think this is the strongest one of the bunch because it is a low cost makeup brand that are gaining momentum. It has been gaining momentum in the last 3 years. I have followed a few Reddit uh, places, commentary as far as the complaint on they have raised price on their product over the past 3 years. They used to be, I believe, many of their product 3 years ago was $10 or less. That's how they got into the market, and then slowly it become $20 and then $30. But that kind of price increase over the last few years, and that's where a lot of the complaint come from. But the reality is, even at $30 or $40 or $50, they are way cheaper than other brands. Okay, earning came out, they beat on earning, beat on revenue, and they guided higher. I'm not selling, trimming anything. If anything, I'm looking at last year as a guide, and we went from the low 90s to 150. I'm not saying the same thing will happen. It can happen. I wouldn't mind at all if we get back to this level, which is not unreasonable. The first level that we need to clear, by we, I mean ELF, is this fifth right here. Forget, yes, the 50 is coming down. Would it be a spot that right now pre-market is showing up there, right above it? So it would not shock me to see this stock open above the 50 and then retrace and sit on the 50 for the rest of the day. That's what is my expectation. So if you want to trim, then perhaps put in an order pre-market to get to trim some at 115 might not be a bad idea if you have too much exposure. Okay, but for me, that's my expectation, is this thing will open above and then settle down and sit on the 50. It needs to clear this area right here between 117 and 121. To me, that's the zone that it needs to clear in order to have a free run. Okay, free run from there to 139-ish, right? So for now, that's my expectation. All right, let's move on. Pepsi. Okay, let's talk Pepsi and Coke. Pepsi came down to a trend line and bounce. Um, I like Pepsi. I mean, I was not quick enough to grab it at 163. Okay, but yeah, to me, that was, did it come down to 163? No, the lowest yesterday was 163.6. Um, if you want to add to a position or buy into Pepsi, I think 163. All right, either that or do a put spread 160. To me, 160, 157 put spread. Let's see if there's any juice in that. Probably not. 160, yeah, there's no juice. Okay, it's barely 8 cents. It's not. 162 might get to you 20 cents or 25 cents, but that's still iffy. Okay, but that's not bad. It's not. You can do a put spread. Do a 162.5, 155, and get 20 cents. That's not a terrible. It's lunch money, but that would be the kind of play I would do now. If you go out a week into next week, next Friday, then you're talking. Okay, look, 160, get you 40 cents, right? To me, that would be a nice place right there. Because if you can do a spread, say 160 and 155, you might get 35 cents. Okay, you might get 35 cents credit on that. So that's a nice 35. I like that. I like that play. 160, 155. I like that play. Right? That would be the one that I would try to do, because 160, yeah, you got. If Let me step back a little bit here. The way the market reacted yesterday, as I discussed, was the fear of inflation, right? The fear of inflation returning. That's why a lot of the consumer stocks crash. Okay, another way to say it, a lot of the consumers related stock crash because of the fear of inflation. If that narrative is true or have any kind of validity, then we are in big trouble as far as the economy. Huge trouble. The economy is already in life support. So if the consumer cannot spend anymore or get weaker, God forbid, right? So for me, I like Pepsi here. 160, 155 spread all day long. Coke, that was lunacy. This makes no sense. Okay, Coke and Pepsi go hands in hand, and I can tell you, the way Coke run from July to Labor Day was pure nutty. I couldn't even understand who would be paying up for this stuff. But guess what? We're back. We are back. Okay, and it below the 200. Now, would I buy Coke again in this area? Yeah, I was trading Coke many times below 60 and get out 61 and above, right? Many times. But then I miss this. I miss this. Okay, so I'll be the first to say I miss this. But guess what? This is, yes, it break the 200, but it came down into a support zone, right? So let's draw in the zone. I mean, I'm not gonna buy. I'd rather do the Pepsi trade. Okay, let me put on record. I'm not buying Coke. Not here. Not yet. So it is not random. Um, but it would be good for the bulls if Coke can get back over the 200. All right, because then it's a nice test of the support zone, and bounce, right? So if you like Coke and want to get in, that's what you want to see. Okay, you want to see Coke get back up there and sit on the 200, and then you can buy to prove to you that you need to prove it. You need to prove it that this is it, right? Let's see what's next. I'm gonna go with STZ and Bud. So let's talk about that. STZ. Oof. Danger. 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 Warning signal. Breakdown. Key breakdown. From now on, every time something is breaking down from a channel, I'm gonna have that danger to myself, okay? Because I have been caught on this bad trade enough time over the past 3 years. Danger. Now, did it come down to I don't like where it is, okay? Because it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. I would love to see it come down to the next level of support, but because it's in the middle of nowhere, let's go back 3 years. It's just the middle of nowhere. Kind of. I guess you can say that it did come down to ref low, right? So it's not quite a middle of nowhere. I take that back, but it's still, it's iffy, right? I I would not recommend buying it here. I would recommend see if it can get back into the channel and prove it that it is holding the channel. That's the safer play, right? If you want to do the put spread game, down here at support. Okay, let me see. Let me see. It only has monthly puts, which next Friday you can do, let's see, the support next area is 220-ish, above 220, but let's do 220. Let's do next Friday. Let's see what we have. 220, you get 75 cents ish. It depends on what the spread is. Okay, if I can get 40 cents on the 220 spread, then yeah, that's not a bad play, right? It's not, at least 35 cents. I definitely want 40 cents on that going out next Friday for 220, right? I like that. Okay, because that area right there is let's go back 3 years to see how strong of a support that is. Yeah, not bad. See, it's actually 222 ish, right? So it's a good support. Yes, it has breach to the next level, which is 207 ish, which is pretty ugly. But for now, that showed that the few times that it breached it, it didn't last long, right? Sure, it lasts like a month or less, but I would not mind owning STZ with an average cost below 220, right? So yeah, it's the risk reward is definitely in the reward. But for now, ideally, I like to see this thing get into the channel and prove it to me that it can hold, right? But oh my goodness, this one caught my attention yesterday. Woo! Okay, that's nasty. 52-week low. Okay, earning was a beatdown. You know, but remind me a little bit of how Coke behaved the past few months. It's just like it has no business up here, no business. All right, consumer is weak, weak, very weak. Volume is not strong. Okay, then this is not a growth. Okay, this is a stable business. But man, but it came down to support. Now, is this some kind of random spot beside this trend line? Let's see. No, see, look, ref low right there. Okay, so it's not random, but it's very gappy. Okay, so once again, it needs to stabilize and prove to me that this is it. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna? But it's very gappy. The most gappy stock that I trade, right? Look, just look. Weekly, there's gap everywhere. So this is one of those stock where you should pay attention. It's the only stock that I follow and trade that I would say I don't even follow any gap because it is so gappy that any kind of gap fill rules, it doesn't really apply. I don't know why Bud trade this way. I would love someone to explain to me why Bud behave this way on a weekly basis. Nothing makes sense as far as its movement, jumping, dropping. It's just crazy. Um, but for me, I would be bullish if it can trade and hold above the gap down day, right? Because this is so irrational. This drop is absolutely irrational. This is below the whole Mulvaney scandal, misstep, whatever you want to call it. So, but for now, let's see the weather does settle. Okay, there's no rush to get back into Bud, but I do like Bud down here. Okay, I do like it. I think the risk reward is to be long, but here I have no position. I sold out a few share of Bud up here. Okay, I bought Bud down here and I sold it somewhere up in the low 60s. But that's it. Let's see whether it does settle today. It's going to be another wild day because what's going on yesterday was pretty crazy, and I do expect the craziness, irrational behavior to continue